everyone. We're very happy that you're here to see Birth of a Nation. Sorry, the mic cuts out. And Wilmington's role in it. So now let's welcome two people who played a significant role almost 250 years ago, George Washington and Betsy Ross.
Welcome. I made it. So I'm very happy to be here in the town of Wilmington with my good friend, Betsy Ross, who's going to be sitting there and kind of working hard while we continue to talk. I want to thank you so much for Audrey Reed, I believe her name is. I've gotten so many letters and correspondence. She felt it was very important that we came to the town of Wilmington to make sure that everyone remembers the birth of a nation, the United States of America. And not only that, but as to what Wilmington, Mass. Had a part of this lovely making of a nation. Now, I have to tell you, I did have the opportunity to come to Wilmington. I believe it was back in 1789, after the birth of the nation, because I had an opportunity to have several meetings, and I ended up in Andover at their tavern on, believe, Elm Street. But I heard wonderful rumors about the Hardin Tavern right here in Wilmington. So I assure you next time, next lifespan, I will come back to the Hardin Tavern. So today we are here again to make sure that we truly understand the birth of this beautiful nation and how our forefathers made that possible. Before going any further, I think it's really important that, just as I would do in any of our town meetings that I would hold, or any meetings that I would have with any of my correspondents, it's so important to show the dignitaries a little time before we begin our talk. So I would love to acknowledge the people that are here today, and that is Senator Feingold and Representative Robertson. And I would love, Senator Feingold, would you like to share some space with me and say a few words? I too know that you were drawn in by Audrey Reed.
That's right. Well, that's Betsy in my book. Thank you, George. You look great. Just real quick, this is an amazing ceremony, amazing idea, but it's also so refreshing. There's so much negativity out there, but it's nice to have some positive about how great our country is. There is no better country in the world than the United States of America. There is no country that gives as much freedom, allows us to be the people we want to be, and have the opportunity that is out there. So I love the red, white, and blue. I love this flag. I'm proud to salute it every day, and I want to thank you all for coming here, and I thank you for all your patriotism and your spirit, and looking forward to this amazing presentation today. Thank you all very much.
And now I would like to have Representative Robertson come on up.
Thank you, General. I too will keep it brief because I came down today to enjoy the presentation and, along with the Senator, share our love of the flag by presenting you with each of your miniatures ones to take home. So I do apologize. I really didn't expect to talk today. I expect to make my way through the audience and, like the Senator said, show our appreciation of the love and history, the struggle that our ancestors here from Wilmington, Tewksbury, Andover all pitched in to do and give birth to the beautiful country which gave us birth to a beautiful flag today. So the Senate and I will be coming around through. General, Ms. Ross, thank you though. And if I could give one more round of attention, especially for Audrey here, who has been you all know her. She's our unofficial mayor. She's overly humble, but she's a treat in our community because she always throws wonderful things like this and shares her love of history in Wilmington and everything with us. So Audrey, thank you today.
So I would like to share just a little something before we go on to the next, is that yes, Betsy Ross and her husband did a very special favor for me in my house. She and her first husband worked very, very hard in making all my curtains for that beautiful mansion. So I want to thank you very much. So our next people that I would love to introduce to come in is our selectman, Frank West, and John Wallace as our Minutemen, the Wilmington Minutemen.
General.
Oh, sorry.
So we have General Georgette Washington. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Frank West. I'm the captain of the Wilmington Minutemen, and with me is John Wallace, who's a private in the Wilmington Minutemen. And Audrey wanted us to kind of bridge the gap between the colonial Minutemen and the modern, our reenacting group as Minutemen. A few of the things that you look at on John is a guide on, says March 9th, 1775. Does anybody know what that date means? Anybody? It's the date the Minutemen was formed. And how do we know that? How do I know that is because I actually have the minutes from the selectmen meeting from March 9th to 1775. The Minutemen back in the day, you got to remember a few different things about the Minutemen. One, the average Minuteman was about 5'5". John's 6 foot. Does anybody know how tall the General George Washington was back in the day? Anybody know? 6'2". So, he was a very imposing figure when you looked at 6'2" versus, that'd be like. A few of the things that John has with him, if you notice, he's got a powder horn, and that was used to have powder for the muskets, and also a bullet sack for bullets. We didn't have, quote, bullets, but what they were basically tubes made out of newspaper that had a combination of gunpowder and a musket ball in it. So we'd ram that down the barrel of the musket, and then we'd put a little powder in what's called the pan, and then fire. The average, a marksman back in the day, how many rounds do you think a marksman could get off on a musket in a minute? Any ideas? 3. An expert marksman. So if you think about it, you're in battle, and they used to have the Minutemen lined up, like the Colonials lined up on one side, the British lined up on the others. They were all firing at one another, but it's probably taken about 20, 30 seconds for this person to reload, and you got bullets coming at you. One person that I'd like to recognize, by the way, is former Captain Marshall Bishop. I see Marshall here. So I'd like to recognize Marshall, and I'll talk about that. The other thing that John has is a canvas bag, and that basically would hold all of your belongings. I mean, basically, we're going. So you'd have maybe like a knapsack in the back, and basically whatever you were carrying, that's what you had. So that's about it. The shirt that he's wearing, a lot of times those shirts came down to here and doubled as a nightshirt. So that would be both your day shirt and your night shirt. Breeches, in the summertime you'd wear breeches down to the knees, and then wintertime you'd wear long pants. And then in the wintertime we also had cloaks, but cloaks they didn't have zippers back in the day. They all relied on buttons. A few things that I just want to talk about briefly from the minutes of March 9th. A lot of people think that the Minutemen in the day were just farmers. They literally threw down their rakes or their farm implements, grabbed a musket, and went off to battle. Not true. The Minutemen were trained. And if you look at the minutes, like here, I'm going to read it. Thursday, March 9th, 1775, they voted to have the Minutemen to allow, the captain of the Minutemen, by the way, was paid 3 shillings for 2.5 days of training a week. The lieutenants got 2 shillings a day for 2.5 days a week, and the privates got 1 shilling a day for the week, for 2.5 days of training per week. And the thing is that they would train, we think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marshall, we think that they trained over at the corner of Middlesex and Federal Street. If that was the area that was trained back then. And they were ordered by the select board to do that. Okay, and basically the couple of people that on the colonial end that I'd just like to focus on real quick. One is our original captain, which is Cadwalader Ford. If you go down Middlesex Ave, where Salem Street, you go right to the north or left to go to Tewksbury, there's a big old white house right in the middle. That's Cadwalader Ford's house. It still exists. He was the original captain of the original Minutemen. He was born in 1743, died in 1804 at the age of 61. Had 7 children. Had Elizabeth, then Elizabeth again. Both Elizabeths died when they were children. Cadwalader II, Betsy, Samuel, and get this, 2 of his other children. One was George Washington Ford, and one was John Hancock Ford. And he was the original captain of the original Minutemen. He was also the town clerk, the chairman of the select board, and a selectman. So you kind of didn't mess with him around town, He was one of 3 back in the day. And you got to remember, up until recently, we called that the selectmen because only men were allowed to be on the board because only men could vote and only men could own property. So we've gone a long way since then, ladies. A few other things on that is that he was elected to the captain of the Minutemen and was in Concord in April 19, 1775. What happened was that people think, well, gee, we were at Lexington and Concord. No, what happened was that some of the Minutemen went to Lexington, others were in Concord. We joined other groups and went to Concord, and basically we're at Bloody Angle, which is the corner. Miriam's Corner, thank you very much. So we were there at Miriam's Corner. You got to remember, we left at, say, 2 o'clock in the morning, got there around 8, thereabouts. Their day was just beginning. Now they're just starting battle after marching for 6-7 hours, and we didn't have streets and lights and all that. And there was, anyone know how many Minutemen there were originally, with the original group of Minutemen? 212. No, with the Minutemen, with the Wilmington group.
The Wilmington group?
Yep. 20.
12 men served.
In total, right, but under Ford, there was 29. There was 29 that served under Ford. One other person that I want to talk about real quick is Reverend Isaac Morrow. Isaac Morrow was Cadwalader Ford's son-in-law. He was a minister here in Wilmington for 50 years. He was, his daughter Elizabeth is who married Cadwalader Ford. Supposedly, He rode to Burlington and was captured a Tory minister on April 19, 1775. So he was not just a minister, he was also, shall we say, an early warrior. And supposedly, he gave the dedication address at Lexington Green. And where both Isaac Morrill was the Church of Christ, which is now the Congregational Church, that's now 3 buildings old. I mean, the original building was built, I think, around 1730 when the town was formed. And then that was taken down. They built another Congregational Church, which got burnt in 1865, and then was replaced with the Congregational Church that you see on Middlesex Ave today. And both Isaac Morrill and Cal Walder Ford and their families are buried at Wildwood Cemetery. If you drive by Middlesex Ave and you see the entrance to the cemetery and you look at the old section to the right, if you look carefully, you'll see a mound, and there's a red chimney on the top of the mound. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that or not, but now you will. On top of the red chimney is a big stone, and it lists Cal Walder Ford is buried there, Isaac Morrill is buried there, as well as their families. And by the way, how do I know that? Where did I get this information from? There's one person smiling here. Marshall Bishop actually did a comprehensive history on the Minutemen, who were very dedicated to and have gratitude towards Marshall for what he did in forming the Minutemen. A couple of things that the reenacting group does is that we were formed in 1968. Basically, in that time, a lot of towns were trying to get into that colonial thing. We had the bicentennial coming up and all that, so a lot of different towns formed Minuteman groups. I'm probably about the 19th or so captain of the Minutemen. I've been captain on and off for about 15 years. A couple of ways that you know that I'm the captain, if you look at my gorget, it has a little yellow here. That signifies captain. Typically, our Minutemen would either have yellow or a different color to signify non-captain. The other thing is that I wear a gorget. Now, if you look close, it says captain, but if you look in the distance, you'll see why am I wearing this? I know somebody when I was out in the parking lot, I don't know who the lady was, has asked, what is that you're wearing? Yeah, there you are, right there. What a gorget is that, again, it's a symbol of an officer. And the other thing also that happened is the throwback to Roman times, because Romans, back when they had their suits of armor, back in the knights' times, when they had their suits of armor, they actually had armor around their neck to protect their neck from being attacked, from a sword. And basically, although this won't fit around your neck, it's symbolic of back in the day when the knights did that. If you notice also, there's a term for Marines. You ever hear Marines called leathernecks? Why is that? Any ideas? A lot of Marines back in the day wore strips of thick leather around their necks. Same thing. They didn't want the knives or anything to go and attack their necks. Like I said, our colonial group, of which John is a member, we've got about 10 or 12 different members. We do a lot of different events. We actually did the Charlestown Parade yesterday. We did a flag retirement ceremony the day before. And I'll invite you now, next June 13th, or thereabouts, we'll have another flag retirement ceremony where what we do is we take colonial flags, we take flags that are worn and tattered, and what we do is we fold them up and respectfully retire them by burning. And if you notice, I say retire by burning, I don't say burning a flag. People have always said, oh, you're the guys that burn flags. No, I've never burnt a flag. I've retired literally thousands by burning, but I've never burnt a flag, because burning a flag is, really, it's because you're mad at our country, and I hope we never have a reason to be mad at our country. But again, we do a lot of events. One last thing that I'll say is that we are chartered, but our charter from 1968, when we were formed, is actually a continuation of the original charter back in 1775 when we were formed. And theoretically, the select board can call us into battle. Now, if you really want us carrying our muskets and going into battle, we'll do it for you, but I don't know how effective we'll be. But I'll get off the stage, but just before I do, I wanted to thank Audrey for putting this presentation together. I think she's did a phenomenal job. As Betsy Ross. Any questions before I step down? Okay, with that, I'll just say one thing. If anybody's interested in more information about the Minutemen or joining Minutemen, our dues are $20 a year, and all you have to do is basically fill it, be over 18, and be breathing. So I don't think the application's that difficult, but we've had some people that say, I don't know if I qualify. So again, thank you very much. Happy afternoon. Take care.
Well, I thank you, young man. I really appreciate that. So before we go any further, I just want to make sure that you know, once again, I've heard of this Audrey Reed, and before I leave this building today, if I don't meet her in person, I'm in big trouble, because I've just got to get this urge of finding out who this woman is, because I also heard that there's a beautiful display in your hallway here, and a lot of time and effort went into that display. I took a peek at it, and I just can't wait to watch the Revolutionary. I can't wait to see myself and all our information on PBS. There's a beautiful, beautiful layout of information there. But you should be able just to take a peek because a lot of hard work went into that, just like a lot of hard work went into today. So without further ado, I'd like to be able to have, that's Terry. Where's that Terry? She didn't show up today. I'm so sorry. She didn't show up today. What's new? She's running around with her head cut off. But me, George, will read about the flag, Flag Day. How many people remember that yesterday was Flag Day? Yes, Flag Day. Audrey wants to honor the American flag. Yesterday was Flag Day, June 14th. It commemorates the adoption of the flag of the United States on June 14th, 1777, by resolution of the Second Continental Congress. The first flag had 13 stars, hence the one that Betsy worked hard on. For the 13 original colonies, 7 red stripes and 6 white stripes, which added together makes 13. Again, representing the original 13 colonies, Betsy Ross made the first flag. The American flag is the symbol of our country. And if we could give a round of applause for our flag. So today, Audrey also wrote something special. Again, I got to meet this Audrey. Excuse me. I turned the page. Someone worked so hard in organizing this for me. I would love to we have a high school student who had graduated. She graduated the last weekend of May, but talk about a dedicated student, and who has been very dedicated in working with us here at the Senior Center. Audrey asked her to please do a reading for you, and believe it or not, Olivia is here. Thank you, Olivia.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to read The Revolutionary War and What Led to It, written by our very own Audrey Reed, who is not here right now, because that's Betsy Ross. This took place from 1775 to 1783. At the time, there were 13 colonies: New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. At the time, England was taxing without representation. Some of what happened in Boston was the start of the Revolutionary War. These things included the Boston Massacre, which was March 5th, 1770, the Boston Tea Party, which was December 16th, 1773, Lexington and Concord, which was April 19th, 1775, and Bunker Hill, which was June 17th, 1775. On the night of April 18th, 1775, Paul Revere was waiting for a signal. The signal was if the British marched, hang the lanterns in the belfry of the North Church, 1 by land and 2 by sea. Paul Revere saw 2. The British came across the Charles River. Paul rode through many towns saying, "The British are coming." The British, who were called Redcoats, are on their way to Concord. They heard that there were arms being stored there. When the British got to Lexington Common, a fight broke out. Somebody was shot. The British marched on the Old North Bridge in Concord. There were no arms found. On the way back to Boston, the British burned Concord Center. By the time the British got to Merriam's Corner in Concord, hundreds of Minutemen and militia from surrounding towns were waiting for the British. Wilmington was there. The Redcoats met and fought the Minutemen along the road to Boston. This road is forever known as Battle Road. The British march in formation. The Minutemen were farmers and fought behind stone walls and trees. On July 4th, 1776, our founding fathers, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olivia. So we would like right now to be able to, but before we start this, I just want to make everybody, let's just pause and think that we the people, everyone that's sitting in this room and all over our country, we do have a voice and people do listen, and people have listened since the very beginning. So we can make a difference, everyone can make a difference. And we know one person has made a difference to make us educated and remind us of how important this is. And every time we say Audrey Reed, I'm sorry we don't have a drink, but here's Audrey Reed for doing that. I would like to be able to we have a short film. It's a film of Wilmington, Minutemen, the Baldwin Apple, and why there's Baldwin Apple. There's several, it's a lot of information, a lot of fun. And I want you to sit down, sit back, and enjoy.
The Revolutionary War. The year is 1775. On April the 19th, early in the morning, the Wilmington Minutemen are waiting for the word. The town had a militia company with some 78 men which fought in the French and Indian Wars. From that militia were drawn 27 Minutemen sworn to report within 30 minutes, ready to fight when they get the word. The British are on the move, called the Redcoats. At 2 in the morning, on April the 19th, 1775, Captain Carl Wallender's Ford Jr. and Lieutenant John Harding lead their men down Chestnut Street and out Mill Road for the 17-mile walk towards Concord, through Bedford to Merriam's Corner. At the same time, the Redcoats are approaching the Lexington battle green. Shots ring out. There's a skirmish with the waiting Lexington Minutemen. The Redcoats then march off to Concord to seize colonial military supplies. They found none. The Concord militia had hid the arms. There's another skirmish at the Old North Bridge with the waiting Concord Minutemen. The Redcoats then burned the center of Concord on their way back to Boston. At Merriam's Corner, all hell broke out. Minutemen from towns around waited behind the Merriam's house and barn. It was around noontime when a column of approximately 700 British regular soldiers began the return march from Concord to Boston. When the column of Redcoats reached Merriam's Corner, about a mile from Concord Center, the newly arrived companies of militia were from Reading, Chelmsford, Acton, Bedford, and Billerica. The Wilmington militia, with Ford and Harding leading them, was part of a large militia. Miriam's Corner is the site where the battle roads begin. The Wilmington men helped in the fight, continuing all the way back to Boston. Thus began a war that would not end until Yorktown, more than 6 long years later, and our nation was born. Note, both Lexington and Concord claim the shot heard around the world.
"190 years later, the nation's bicentennial is approaching. People in the Boston area begin reconstituting the Minutemen companies. In the fall of 1968, Warren and Evelyn Shearing attended a Minutemen ball in Bedford, along with neighbor Bill Meyer. Returning home, they set to work to start a Minutemen company in Wilmington. The original Minutemen Company had 27 members, and the recreated company would use that number, which meant they needed 27 uniforms. Dot LaFianatis was teaching sewing in the evening school. Soon there were several women busily turning out yellow vests, green trousers, and colonial shirts. Tricorn hats were available through a shop in Concord. The company chose the Baldwin apple as its symbol, so the tricorns were pinned with a small apple on a yellow cockade. The Wilmington Minutemen Company was founded on March 9, 1975. The company marched in its first parade in Concord on Patriots' Day in 1969. A month later, they made an impressive showing at the annual Wilmington Town Meeting. Patriots' Day is a special time for the Wilmington Minutemen. Why was it called Patriots' Day? Patriots, also known as revolutionaries, continentals, rebels, or American Whigs, were the colonists of the 13 colonies who rejected British rule during the American Revolution. They declared the United States of America an independent nation on July 4, 1776. A few years later, it's getting close to the bicentennial, 200 years since the Minutemen of Wilmington answered the call to Concord to stop the British. While the women were making uniforms, the men were building a cannon at the home of Captain David Hill. This cannon was used in many reenactments in the years to come. They are getting ready. The Wilmington Minuteman Cannon has been to Castle Island many times to salute Old Ironsides on the 4th of July as it makes its yearly turn. On July 4th, 2000, the cannon was at Castle Island for the 225th anniversary of the War of Independence. Dean Reed is the Wilmington Minuteman that had the honor to salute the tall ships with the cannon to welcome the ships into the harbor. On the morning of April 19, 1975, the Wilmington Minutemen form a line at the grave of Captain Cadwallader Ford in Wildwood Cemetery. A fifer will play taps, then 27 men start their march to Concord for 17 miles for a reenactment of the fight at Merriam's Corner. Wilmington Minutemen over the years have done and joined many reenactment groups, some in Wilmington, Lexington, Concord, and the Bedford pole capping. Liberty poles were erected all over the rebellious colonies. The mast-like poles were to protest the Stamp Act and taxes. The Liberty pole came to symbolize freedom and Republican movements. On the Sunday before April 19, 1975, a Liberty pole was taken from the Fitch Tavern. It was a heavy 24-foot pole. The Minutemen marched with drum and fife to Wilson Park. The pole was raised and put in place. A strong Minuteman would shinny up and plop a knitted red Liberty cap on top. Today's Minutemen have continued with reenactments over the years. Before we talk more about current Minutemen, let's talk about the Harnden Tavern and its part in all this.
Harden Tavern. The Harden Tavern has played an important part of the history in Wilmington. Let's go back to the year 1770. Joshua Harden built his house and called it home for a few years before he was called to arms on the morning of April the 19th, 1775. In 1795, Joshua turned his house into a tavern. Fast forward to 1973, a couple of years before the bicentennial. Harden Tavern was taken by the town of Wilmington by eminent domain and made into a museum. What a perfect place for the newly formed Wilmington Minutemen to have their headquarters. The Minutemen of today meets in a building behind the museum on the second Thursday of the month. We will now go to the installation of officers of the Wilmington Minutemen.
Also like to let you know that we're being filmed by WCTV. We have Tom Pizzara doing filming, and we also have Audrey Reed doing going to do a little filming afterwards to include in a package for Wilmington Community Television.
We are pleased to announce, first of all, that we had 100% participation in the voting. Number two, there was no early voting. Number three,
Check those IDs.
that all officers that we are now going to announce have been elected unanimously, indicating the full faith of the organization. And we are going to start with our company chaplain, Michael Kelly. Congratulations on your re-election. It is the duty of the company captain to preside at all meetings of the company and of company staff, to appoint all standing committees of the company and of the company staff, and be responsible for their proper functioning, and to be the field commander of all marching units. Do you accept this position?
I do.
Congratulations.
Not just because I've gotten to know all of you so well over the years and that, but because the atmosphere, not just of this historic place we're in, not just of the people we're remembering, but the fact that Wilmington still cares what happened so long ago. You know, the folks in the Massachusetts Bay Colony at that time had a vision, And not many folks know, but we fought for months and months and months before any other states joined us. This is where the spirit of rebellion started. And I just wanted to say it excites me to this day that still continues. And that, you know, some folks who are going to be watching this from home are going to find it interesting. But what we're doing here is continuing that memory and honor and legacy. So again, thank you all for coming down. It really is quite nice, and I look forward to celebrating the installation of our officers directly after with all of you.
So thank you for allowing us to serve as your installing officers, and thank you for allowing us the great honor of being able to be counted as members of the Wilmington Company of Militia. It's an honor to be part of this group and to acknowledge its activities and to participate in those activities because of just how important the legacy that the Wilmington Minutemen represent is. One of the most inspiring things that happens in this installation is the pause that occurs right out in front of the flagpole as we take a minute to remember those who came before us, who risked everything in their lives for the cause of freedom, and to think about what the odds were and what they faced, and to think that they stepped out into the field of battle and away from their fields and their shops and their vocations, and they stood for the cause of freedom and democracy and equality. And they stood against what was then the greatest army in the world. And they did so knowing the odds. They did so knowing the risk. But they did so knowing it was the right thing to do. And they carried that in their heart and their soul. And there was tremendous sacrifice. That effort was not without sacrifice at all. Lives were lost. Property was lost. Lives were changed. Psychological scars were carried. But it was done in the belief and the hope that we manifest today, that we live in the greatest nation on the face of this earth, and one whose bedrock principles remain fast and firm and as relevant today as they were when those men whose names were read under the flagpole stepped forward and said, "I will risk it all for those values." And how important it is that we continue to remember that and we continue to tell that story, because we think about the inspiration that that story has provided throughout the history of this country, but also at this moment in time, when we look halfway across the world and we see a similar story unfolding of brave men and women standing against a superior force that has invaded Ukraine and has sought to destroy democracy, destroy the will of the people, commit barbaric acts of war upon them. And we wonder just how much of their courage and their spirit finds its way back at some point to the men whose names were read right out here, who stood for those same things, who gave an example of courage and bravery and sacrifice that it is relevant today as it was then. Thank God we have this company of militia to continue to tell that story, because we see even today how important it is to be remembered, to be inspired, and to be motivated as we in our own lives carry the blessings that they fought for and gave us into action each and every day. So thank you all. Thank you all, Minutemen Company of Wilmington, for what you do, what you represent, and for how important you are in our lives today, just as much as those who came before you have been. Thank you all very much.
I'm Audrey Reed, and I welcome you all here. And I'd like to ask Senator Tarr and Representative Robinson a question, and I'll start with Senator Tarr. I know you've said it all, but my question is, why is it important to keep this history alive?
It's important that we always remember the history that's represented by the Wilmington Minutemen, and to remember the fact that we live in a great nation that was built upon the sacrifice and courage of those who were willing to risk everything they had so that we might have all of the blessings that we have in our lives today, Audrey. And in those times when maybe we tend to forget a little bit, or maybe we become a little bit clouded in our memory about the legacy that we hold in our hands, the Wilmington Minutemen remind us in a living, dynamic way of that legacy and remind us of our obligation to work every day to be worthy of all of those who have come before us, who have made the sacrifices they've made, so that we can live our lives in the sunshine of freedom and democracy and liberty.
Thank you.
Well, I believe that it's important because of the fact that Massachusetts was on the forefront. I'll hold this for you, don't worry, Audrey. Massachusetts on the forefront, and I think this represents the spirit of our state and of our people, which later expanded to the state of this country. And by actively participating with the Minutemen, even though the names on the scroll are long gone that we lost, they live on in the spirit. And by recreating that and reminding the community that these gentlemen who risked everything, gave up all their comforts and very little comforts that they had at that time to go out and face the predominant world superpower and to establish a great experiment which has flourished since, in the case of Wilmington, 1730, and in many parts of Massachusetts even earlier, into a country that's established itself as the great equalizer of peace, has set foot on the moon, has all sorts of amazing accomplishments, second to none. Again, it's important to remember that this was the humble spark, the people from this part of the world that stood up and said, we're going to try this. We're going to do better. And by reliving this, it reminds us every day to strive to be better and continue that Massachusetts spirit. I believe the state even had a little slogan where Massachusetts is the spirit of America, the spirit of the red, white, and blue. And I believe that's being showcased here today with the Minutemen.
Thank you. And now I'll turn it over back to Frank. Mike, and I'd like to ask him, since he was a chaplain back in 1775, what can he tell us?
On the 19th of April, 1775, the Reverend Isaac Morrill met with the minister of Bedford, Mass, on his way to Concord, Mass.
I'd like to thank Frank for all the stuff that he's done in the town of Wilmington over the years, and especially to thank him for keeping this Minuteman group alive and well in this year of 2022. This was really a very special moment for me. I'm very patriotic, and I'm a history nut and all that, and so I just like to say thank you and have a good day.
Two great men had a part in the story of the historic trees of Wilmington. One was Colonel Loam Baldwin of Woburn, who has been called the father of civil engineering. The other was George Whitfield, an evangelical preacher who was well known in his day. But let's start with William Butters, who served on the first Board of Selectmen in Wilmington in 1730. And is believed to have been the first settler in what is now Wilmington. Around 1740, Butters discovered a wild seedling of an apple tree growing on his farm on what is now Chestnut Street. He called the apple the woodpecker because the tree attracted so many birds, and for many years it was known by one of these names, pecker, woodpecker, or Butters apple. Aside from cider making, it was also known as an exceptionally good pie apple because its hardness caused it to retain its shape during the baking process. For the next 40 years, the apple was grown for the enjoyment of the immediate neighborhood around Butters Farm. Butters Farm was continuously occupied for over 300 years, and at least one Butters of every generation has served in armed conflicts. The town purchased the Butters farmhouse to save it from destruction or being moved. Through the efforts of the late State Representative Jim Maselli and Senator Bruce Tarr, the town received a legislative appropriation of $450,000 to purchase the historic farmhouse and surrounding property. The appropriation was approved at town meeting on April 22, 2006. In the late 18th century, Deacon Samuel Thompson stumbled across that apple tree while surveying for the Middlesex Canal. He told the canal's engineer, Loami Baldwin, about the fine red apple. Baldwin quickly recognized its appeal. Born in January 10, 1744, Loami Baldwin was a Revolutionary War veteran who crossed the Delaware with George Washington. He commanded the Woburn Regiment during the Battle of Concord and Lexington. While building the Middlesex Canal, he visited the Butters farm and cut some young shoots from the apple tree. He then planted a row near his house in Woburn and gave away cuttings to his friends. Baldwin was the disseminator of the apple, developing it from grafts at his farm. He recognized its potential and propagated it throughout the Northeast. For many years, the Baldwin apple was the most popular fruit in New England and New York. A small, firm apple, remarkably free of blight and blemishes, people prized it for making hard cider and pie. Commercial growers loved it because it produced huge crops every other year and shipped easily. Baldwin accomplished many things in his lifetime, but he is best known for promoting the apple. Some say the apple was named for him after his death. There are two monuments for the Baldwin apple, one near the Butters house and the other on the statue of Baldwin in Woburn. According to an inscription on the Baldwin Apple Monument at Butters Farm, the original apple tree fell in the gale of 1815. The severe winter of 1933 and 34 wiped out millions of apple trees in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts.
My granddaughter told me when she was in school, she was taught this song and sang. The Baldwin apple is the pride of Wilmington. The Baldwin apple is the pride of Wilmington. It's so juicy and so sweet. To make cider, that's a treat. The Baldwin apple is the pride of Wilmington. Legend says Baldwin was second cousin to Johnny Appleseed. These are my thoughts on Johnny Appleseed. He planted apple trees everywhere. His real name was John Chaplin, born in Massachusetts in 1774. Left home and planted his first nursery in western Pennsylvania. His second cousin, Baldwin, born in 1744, had already started planting apple trees from the Butters apple. Maybe that's where Johnny got his idea.
we could also can we give them a round of applause, and also Randy for playing the piano. So before we close, and before we give another surprise, I truly want to thank you all for being here today, because it really is so important for us to pause in our busy lives and all the things that we do to remember how important history is and how important that Wilmington did take part in so many, but every single one of you with your families, from your families all the way to your grandchildren and everything, that you did so much for this community also. But we as a people are extremely strong. We've always been strong, and we know that because we're standing in a building because we were so strong. But do not forget that. For the future and from this point on, remember our history and remember your strength. And don't be shy to speak up and with your concerns. And this has been a fantastic day. I cannot imagine it turning out any better. And we're extremely appreciative to Audrey for bringing this all to our attention today. So thank you, Audrey. I would also like to thank many people, as in the fun singers and everybody, and Olivia that came from her busy day to make sure that we got to hear that important speech that Audrey felt it was important that you were here to say that. And so without further ado, we'd like another little surprise and another group of people that have been working hard to do a little something special before we go on to have a nice little surprise. Again, with food. We love our food. But before we do that, can the doors open at the count of 3, please? 1, 2, 3.
These are our pom-pom dancers. Audrey Reed's daughter-in-law. We're here at the Wilmington Senior Center celebrating the Flag Day of June 14th, but it's today June 15th. But we just had a wonderful performance that was all patriotic and reminiscing about 1775 and since now. But we did have a great time, followed by different entertainment as well as a nice apple pie and vanilla ice cream treat at the end. So if we have another one in the future, you should come and celebrate with us. Thank you.
I was singing. I was one of the fun singers, but I loved singing, and I love the fun singers. They are so much fun. They really are. It's a great, great thing to do. Can't beat it. Anybody that's home and has nothing to do or is lost, come join us. You'll have a ball. There's all kinds of things to do. Oh, watching Audrey and, of course, Terry and the surprise and the dances. They were incredible. And if my knees get better, I'm going to join them. I already talked to the leader.
I just want to congratulate Miss Reed. She did a tremendous job today. As past captain, I'm very proud to know her. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, dear.
That's nice to know you. And what about this guy over here?
Hi, accolades to Audrey
Well, I
and
didn't say
Betsy
that
Ross.
for you to do that.
You did a great job, and we had George Washington here as well, so great job from everyone that participated. And the apple pie and ice cream was good too.
Yeah, sure was. Thank you kindly.